So that's a very classic male ADHD thing.
I've been doing that this whole episode. What?
Yeah. Well, you might be ADHD.
Okay.
Then.
All right.
Do you want to listen to a podcast?
Yes, I do.
Hi there, you're listening to the Kingdom Sexuality podcast. We're Alana, Kyle, and Tira, friends who have a heart for intimacy and long to uncover God's truth and design for sexual freedom within marriage. If you enjoy listening to our episodes or like our content over on Instagram, would you consider leaving a review or subscribing? It really helps. Welcome here.
All right, we are back for another episode of the Kingdom Sexuality podcast. I'm Tira, joined by my awesome co-hosts Kyle and Alana, and we have a special guest today who I'll introduce in a little bit. But a special welcome to our patrons who are listening. You guys are the best because you support our show, and we love to spoil you with freebies and give you hump day positions on Wednesdays, and you get to vote on episodes. Like, it's definitely the place to be. You can head over there to support us at patreon.com/Kingdom Sexuality. Okay, so I'll read the verse first and then introduce our guest. So the verse for today is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Okay, and now also here's just a quick word from one of our sponsors before we introduce our special speaker. All right, so on the show today we have Greer Jones. She is actually a fellow podcaster, part of our same network. This sounds fun. That sounds fun. Mm-hmm. I always get it mixed up. I know it's, yeah. She is here to talk about neurodivergence in marriage and sex and family. And she, is going to be our expert that we're going to ask all the questions. We have a few questions, and then we got you guys to write in as our followers for questions that you have. So we're going to get into those as well. So welcome here, Greer. We're so happy that you're with us today. We get to chat to you all about this.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here to share what I know.
Yeah, so tell us who you are and what you do, and who is Greer Jones?
Yeah, so I always say, like, my tagline is mom, podcaster, advocate. And so that's, what I do. I'm a mom to two boys. I'm a wife as well. Okay, sorry. I have one of our dogs is emotional support animal it was supposed to be for our son, but really he gives me more of the support, and he can tell stress levels. So he's always sitting at my feet, except when the door opens, then he's like protected mode. So anyway, sorry.
No.
But so I'm a mom to two boys and a wife, and one of our sons is about 2 years ago was diagnosed autistic ADHD. And from that, just realizing that the world doesn't know really what that is, particularly the Christian world. And so from that, started sharing about our everyday and kind of just telling people that, sometimes getting to church is the biggest one. And yes, that means my kid is wearing 2 different shoes and may or may not have the appropriate weather clothing on, but it's what he feels comfortable in. It's what, we got through. And so just, kind of from that experience, sharing our everyday. And in that process of him getting diagnosed, realizing that I have ADHD. So I've gone through that process. And then my husband, we kind of knew before the diagnosis, but having it confirmed that he is autistic, which a level 1, if that helps anyone. I don't know if people don't always know what that means, but yeah. And so kind of our day-to-day is just me advocating for our son and for kind of other moms who are going through this as well. It's a really isolating place. I remember saying, or not just saying, but feeling kind of, you get the diagnosis and you think that's going to kind of solve your answers and you're going to get support and help. And in reality, it just felt like I got dropped into a pitch black maze and told to get out. But because I have Jesus, I had at least a little bit of a light to follow. And so wanting that for other moms and finding that the neurodiverse world is actually a really dark place. Jesus is there. He is definitely there, but not many Christians are. And so getting to just speak that in that space has been amazing. I have seen more hearts open because I was vulnerable about how my children were and how I can have hope because of Jesus. But yeah, so that's me in a long-winded
Cool.
way. That's a very ADHD answer as well. So
No, that was
That was
good.
beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, so for those who may not be familiar, how would you define neurodivergence, and what do you wish more people understood about it?
yeah, so neurodivergence is a whole spectrum. It is things like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, ADD, which has now become ADHD. It's all kind of one. OCD, all sorts of things that are in the brain fits under neurodivergence. So even mental health things can fit under neurodivergence because they are things in the brain. And so it's a big list, much bigger than worth saying. But I think for me, the biggest thing is that it's a brain type, not a disorder.
Yeah.
It's autism is, although it's called autism spectrum disorder, I really believe that our brains, those who are on this big spectrum, so ADHD, autism, whatever, all just have their brains wired differently. And that's totally okay. I think about the fact that all the things that we're currently using or things that help us in life, so we think about our phones or computers or things like that, we're all created by a neurodivergent person, which is fun. That's fun to me to say that, to think things that make our life easier were created by a neurodivergent person. So that's kind of a very brief description of it. It's obviously there are lots of hard things about being neurodivergent. The world is not set up for neurotypical, or it's set up for neurotypical people, not neurodiverse people. And so it has hardships, but there's also beauty. I think about just how much has been made and created and the color. I always say neurodivergent people bring color. I might be biased being neurodivergent, but I say that as well.
Yeah. Is this a new term? I remember growing up, I never heard this term. Only in the past few years did I hear this. What did it used to be called, or how did we deal with this previously?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, it's probably in the last 5 years that we've really started to put everything under an umbrella, because we started to realize, one, they're kind of interconnected. So it's not actually unusual that my son is autistic and ADHD. They're connected. They even think that he could be dyslexic as well, which is again another connection. So they're kind of in the last 5 years realized that they're all connected. So let's put them under the umbrella and call them this. So yeah, so it is a new term. Before that, the other thing is so I remember growing up, my parents are teachers, and you really only saw the extremes of it. And so you didn't really think the levels, that there's now 3 levels of autism. 10 years ago, there wasn't. And that's just because they didn't know as much as they do now. And even, things we know now in 2 years will probably be slightly outdated because they'll know more. They're doing so much more studies, particularly on women. So the reality is women, the average age for a woman to get diagnosed ADHD is 32. The average age for a male or male stroke boy to get diagnosed is 7.
Wow.
And that's because, because they had this idea of what ADHD is based on a boy, based on men. And so it presents very differently in women. And so, so
it's interesting,
only just learning about that.
It's interesting with your story, getting your son diagnosed is when it led to you guys realizing that you both had something. And I have friends that are similar, that were going through things with their kids and all of a sudden putting the dots together of wait, I fit that, I fit that, I fit that, and now they're going to counseling to go and dive into what they are and if they need a diagnosis as well.
Did anything change for you after you got your diagnosis?
Yes and no. I gave myself a lot more grace. And this is the thing, I remember telling someone, so I have another job. This is my paying job, we call it. And it's a Christian organization. It's a great organization. It's very common. It's a very big organization, so I don't quite want to throw it under the bus. But I was telling one of the executive leaders, I work with the leadership team, and I said, I have ADHD. And they're like, but you're on time to everything. And I said, I'm on time to everything because I'm like I'm so scared to be late that I show up to meetings 5 minutes early. Like I'm, because I have felt so much shame for that, whereas now if I'm 5 minutes late, I'm like, oh, hey, sorry, I was 5 minutes late, because I've given myself grace for that. Or, laundry, like that's something I just can't seem to do, which is a very common ADHD thing because it's so many tasks. So now half my clothes just sit in the hamper, and I just have given myself grace for that and said, yeah, it's okay. It's very interesting having an autistic husband who is very rigid and scheduled. And so it's that classic like bedside table situation where his is clean, nothing's on it except what he, like his phone and charger. Yeah. That's it. And mine's like chaos and has like random things on it and just, but yeah, that's, for a long time I was like, what's wrong with me? Why do I have that? Whereas now I'm like, that's just me. That's how my brain works. And I know what's on it. I know I need all those things. It's just, yeah.
Did you see any changes in your marriage once you guys both had your diagnoses?
Yeah. I think we also gave each other grace and also realized that there were things that I know for myself that he wasn't trying to be mean about. So particularly like emotions, the amount of times I've cried and he's cared for me. Like, I don't want it to sound like he doesn't care, but he's like, I don't know what to do right now. Like, he's like a bit of a robot. I've always said he's a little bit of a robot. And so things like that, just being able to give him more grace and say, okay, he's not intentionally trying to do this. His brain doesn't see it, or his brain hasn't connected that emotion to this situation. And so therefore I need to give him grace. So yeah, I think just a lot more grace. And then also communicating that. So like there are situations where I'm like, I need you to only tell me positive things about this, or only let me, we call it the 5-minute rule. So as an ADHD person, it's sort of a hyper focus, sort of not. It's just something I love. Gets me a dopamine high is planning holidays or vacations. I have planned so many dream holidays and vacations. I can tell you where we should go, when we should go, what activities we should do. Like, feel free to ever come to me and I'll help you because I love it. But there are probably holidays that we will never go on because they cost thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. But I love doing it. And so we have the 5-minute rule where I will say to him, okay, give me 5 minutes to tell you this dream, this idea. And for 5 minutes, he just lets me talk. He can't say anything negative. He can't say anything that's going to like put it down, or barricade it, and let me talk. And then after 5 or so minutes, then he can go, okay, so how much is this going to cost? Or did you think about this? Or did you think about that? Because he comes in and like all of these kind of realistic
logic.
Yeah. And then usually in a week I've moved on and found another location I want to go to, and we start the whole thing over again. But in those 5 minutes, at least I get it all out. Yeah. And that was something that actually, when we realized we were both neurodivergent and kind of how our brains work, that was a big change, was realizing actually I just need 5 minutes to get it all out. Info dump, basically. And with you saying nothing, I feel like I'm being heard. But when you interrupt me, or when you come in with your logic before I've given you all the information, I don't feel like you're hearing me. I don't feel like you're into that dream. And so, yeah.
So what kind of what other strategies and stuff have you guys done together so that you can feel connected emotionally?
So counseling is a big one. I'm a big fan of counseling, which sounds silly, but it's just helped us have this will sound strange, a third person in the conversation who is one, neutral, and two, kind of stop and go, okay, I can see Greer looks confused. Greer, why do you look confused? Okay, Chris, can you explain that a bit more? Or, just kind of stopping it, because I'm a high level. I don't need loads of information. My husband loves information. To him, information is power. And so having someone who can just she does not make any decisions for us, although we think she does. She's like magical. Just that has helped us just connect. We've had, and obviously she gives strategies and stuff. She's not in every conversation we have, but
Yeah.
you know, we found that to be a great help and source. And then the other thing is just recognizing that we both are different, and so our marriage is going to look different. And so we need to just stop comparing. I remember a while, like 7 years ago. So we've been married 10 years, and we were trying to have a baby. And I just remember being like, wow, you know, one, why is this not working? And two, like, how can this couple look so perfect? And, you know, obviously I'm not in their marriage, so I'm not sitting there every day. But, and it's just really crushing moment. Like, why are we so different? What's going on? You know? And when we came to that realization that we're different because our brains are different, then it's okay. Our marriage is going to look different. Just like we have come to terms that our parenting is going to look different, so is our marriage. And it's been really freeing to kind of realize that and know that that's what it is. And our marriage, it works for us. It work, you know, how we do things work for us. So why try and make it look what it's like it's supposed to be, or what we think it's supposed to be?
Yeah, I've always said that, like, we're big fans of counseling here too, so definitely pro counseling. I've always had a good counselor as like a translator. Like, they can translate one person's thoughts and feelings so the other person can understand them.
Yeah, definitely. I would totally agree.
Is the counseling kind of one of those things that you kind of have just ongoing to stay healthy, or did you do that more at the beginning to kind of learn how to interpret each other?
No, so we did it for a while, and then we kind of stopped, and then we realized we just need to just always have it. So sometimes it's like weekly, sometimes it's once a month. It just kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, which that's partly what I like, is that we're not locked in. It's not like, we have to do every week, you know. Just she's just like, okay, you tell me when, you know, kind of, and she'll check in, you know, if something in the conversation, she's like, oh, I'm just checking in to make she kind of jokes to make sure we're still alive. And so like, but yeah, it's something that we just kind of, we always just have. We say it's like in our back pocket. We can just pull out whenever we need it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So thinking about the bedroom side of things, how does neurodivergence affect sexual intimacy? Or does it play any sort of role? Is there an impact?
So I would say yes, from my experience, but from also talking to others, there can be a big disconnect, especially in when one person's neurodivergent, one person's neurotypical, because their experiences were very, very differently. Whereas because both Chris and I are both neurodivergent, we can have a little bit more understanding of kind of what people are, what we're each going through. But I would say one of the big things is like the sensory side of it. So that's the sound, textures, feels. So I hate touch. I do not like being touched. And I have 2 children who love touching me. I have a dog who sits on my lap constantly, sometimes because I'm super stressed, sometimes because he just loves me. And so I've found that I've had to overcome that a little bit. Obviously I can sometimes tell my children, okay, no more touching. Like, I mean, I have a child who will literally just like pet my leg because he just loves that feeling. I'm like cooking dinner and he's just like petting my leg. And I'm like, okay, dude, can you go pet the dog? Like, you know, things like that. But, you know, so there's like being overwhelmed by touch that's happening throughout your day, and then coming into the bedroom and having kind of all of that be touched all at once, and just all of that is just can be sometimes really overwhelming and suffocating. That's how I feel sometimes, is like, this is suffocating. Like, this is way too much. And so, yeah, just being aware of that, being aware of, we always call them our sex icks. I don't know if we just made up that term or not, but it's, and they kind of sometimes go through just like a hyper focus. Sometimes we're like loving it, and other times we're like ick, and we just need to say that. Like, we just say ick, and we kind of, the other person knows, not doing it for us tonight. Like, we'll try something else. And so, yeah, it can play a big role. I know a friend of mine who's married to a neurotypical person. She kind of was sharing some things, and just how they've actually not had sex in a long time because of the different needs. And it was really interesting to kind of hear that perspective as well, of just knowing her needs and how she feels about it, I guess, if that makes sense.
Like, for you, if you're feeling suffocated and like touch is just too much right now, and your husband would initiate, like, do you tell him like, hey, I'm feeling touched out? Like, do you have like a system of like, can you go do something to make yourself feel less touched out and then still want sex? Or is it more like, let's try again another day?
It's a mixture. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is just like, and I know when he walks in, like if I'm touched out or not, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want him to like hug me. You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
It's
there's
obvious.
nothing. Yeah, like I'm like, don't touch me. Like I literally just like,
Yeah.
don't touch me. And so he knows when he walks in from work, not gonna happen tonight. Or I could say,
Right.
hey, can you? He does. So he's a nurse, so he works really long shifts. So part of it is as well, like he'll come home and it's, you know, like it's really late as well. So I mean, he comes home at crazy hours sometimes, and so sometimes I'm just like, I'm going to bed. Don't even think about it, you know, like things like that. Or sometimes he'll come home early, and I'll be like, can you give me 30 minutes? Or
Mm-hmm.
I need to go do this activity. So I find water is a big sensory thing. So swimming, having a shower, or sitting in the bath can be really soothing and help kind of regulate your system and your body. So sometimes I'll be like, I just need to go take a shower, have the kids, or you know, whatever, like,
Yeah.
and then I can reset myself, and then we can go from there. So it kind of just depends on the day as well.
Yeah.
The chaos that happens in my house. But yeah, it's I would say as well, like if touch is something that either partner struggles with, I would say try taking a shower or a bath at the end of the day. Or I mean, I work from home, so sometimes I take them in the middle of the day. But like,
Right.
it's a good reset for the body. So
I have a question about, you said that for you, like touch is a big thing and you had to learn to like kind of get over that. What did that look like? Like, is that just grit and bear it, or is there like a process you went through to be more comfortable with it?
yeah, I would say both. So there's some things that I just don't feel comfortable like doing or touching, or that kind of that feeling. And so I'm like, oh, I don't like that. And so we just don't. But some of it is, I think something that we talked a lot about kind of in pre-marriage, and then just even in our first few years, is like wanting to have fun with each other, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense. But,
Totally.
and so sometimes I know him having fun is doing this, you know, even to the point where cuddling on the sofa after like watching a movie, he loves that. That's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
fun for him. And so
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes go, okay, I'm serving him by cuddling up
Mm-hmm.
next to him on the sofa, or,
Yeah.
you know, putting my feet on his, you know, across his lap, like,
Right.
which for some people that seems so like, of course I would do that, or that's not touching, like, but it is
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
very
And then I
sensitive
would
to that.
feel like, because you guys know each other, and like you doing that would also show how much sacrifice you were portraying,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, so we kind of just know, we just kind of know that. And so, and it's, I think, it's taken time for me to fully express that to him. Like, this is a big sacrifice that you're asking me to do, or this is, you know, a big example that's used is this whole spoon theory. So this is taking away a lot of my spoons. So that means I may not be able to do something else because I need to recharge or regain spoons. And so I think some of it took a while for me to communicate that to him, but then also for him to accept that and kind of realize that, you know, yes, touch is sacrifice. You know, like he's like, oh, I remember him once saying, oh, I don't want touch to be sacrificial. I said, well, you can't change that about me. Like that's not going to change, but I'm willing to do that for you. You know, like I'm happy to do that for you. And so I think some of it took time for him to accept that and kind of recognize that something that might feel basic to some people is not basic for me. And vice versa. There's things that I find basic that aren't basic for others. Yeah.
What advice would you give to a couple who's navigating mismatched needs for touch or stimulation? Kind of like what you've been talking about. Like, what would you say to another couple?
That's a great question. I've thought about this one. I think the first one is recognizing that, yeah, intimacy will look different for neurodivergent like couples. And a neurodivergent couple is when one person is neurodivergent. So that could be one or both is a neurodivergent couple. And so just sitting down and being honest, which can be hard sometimes to hear and to say, but sitting down and being honest and just saying like, these are my needs and these are how they can be filled. And even writing them down. I mean, we did this one time where we each separately wrote down, we took a few days to think through like, what are my needs and how can they be met? And then we shared them, we read them to each other. And it was a really good exercise because particularly for, I don't want to say it's very generalized, but particularly for autistic people who can feel emotions, but don't always know how to connect the emotion. And so there were times where I was like not feeling the response I wanted from him. And so saying, when I feel this, I want this, can really help kind of bring those connections together and help people realize like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, or that's what she's wanting to do.
That's a great.
And so,
great idea.
Yeah.
How have you found your faith playing a role in neurodivergence in your marriage?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. One, it's meant we've not gotten divorced, I'll be honest. There have been times where I have come close and been like, nope. But because we have been bound together, then we've worked it out and got counseling once a week or not. But I think that's played a big role. And the other is just remembering that just that grace and that kind of how much grace has been shown to me, I need to show to him, and giving room for there to be mistakes because I'm going to make mistakes as well. And so knowing that in those mistakes we can grow and, forgive and kind of move on. And I find it also means like that makes us stronger as well when we kind of go through those mistakes and grow.
On top of counseling, I'm curious, are you a part of any other like groups or things like that you guys find as like supporting in this process?
So yes and no. So we've actually started like a home group, house group, life group, whatever you want to call it, group, for parents. So it started out as for parents of raising neurodivergent kids, which I'll just say, if you're raising a neurodivergent child, it has been proven that it's genetic. So you might also want to just go a little deeper in that. Not all the time. I'm not saying 100%, but it is genetic. So and that's also why a lot of people are now getting diagnosed, particularly women, because it's genetic. But so we started as a parent for parents, and then it's kind of now turned into, oh yeah, I'm neurodivergent, like, as that process goes on. So we call it the accidental neurodivergent club.
That's amazing.
Because none of us went into it thinking we were neurodivergent, then we've all come out being neurodivergent. So it's great. Which that just started because I just started sharing stuff about our life and doing that. So that's fun. The WhatsApp chat is kind of weird sometimes, but it's great. It's like a weird thing sometimes. I'm like, okay. But I would recommend that. It doesn't have to be necessary. So that's not connected to our church at all. We do meet in our church because we asked the church and they said, great, yeah, let's do it. But it's not necessarily connected to our church. There's people who come. We're all Christians, I believe. There's one couple, I'm not sure, they just joined. Probably think we're crazy, but it's great. But yeah, we are very open about our faith and that kind of thing. But yeah, so I highly recommend that. Just joining, asking your church, like, hey, can I start this if there isn't one?
Right.
And again, maybe focusing it on the parents at first, like, hey, for kids raising neurodivergent kids. Asking, I started another group at school just for moms. And again, I just went to the school and just said, I want to meet other moms like me. And we've snowballed it into that. Now it's a whole another thing. So you definitely need other people around you.
Yeah. No, it's good. So if, like, say this couple who just joined, or someone who at some point has now just come to this realization that, oh my goodness, maybe neurodivergence, this is a part of our marriage and relationships, whatever, where do they even start? Like, how do they begin trying to navigate this? Like what kind of resources would you point them to?
So there's one that I love. I will just say it's not a Christian resource. I have found that to be very difficult to find a Christian neurodivergent resource. So it's not Christian, but there's a lot of things that you can still relate to. It's called Neurodiverse Love. So they have a website called neurodiverselove.com. They're on social media as well. It's a lady I've spoken to. She's great. She shares a lot of her story and just kind of different resources. So I will just clarify, it is not a Christian. So there are some things that I don't totally agree with, but there are still some really good key things that she talks about, especially around communication, because that's a big stumbling block. Because I think about, my brain is chaos and my husband's is order. And so when you put the two together, it's one big fun mess. So that's the top one. And then the other one I would just say is just find someone who they don't have to be neurodivergent, but just find another couple that you can regularly meet with to pray. And just ask them, hey, could you set up a chat with, the wife and the male, like the husband, and just say, like, could you just pray for us? Just be able to do that. We have that as well, who the husband is neurodivergent, but it's been just really nice to just message her sometimes and say, hey, I just need prayer for this. And know that, she's not going to share it with anyone else, but she's going to pray. And then we meet once a month. So
I feel like that's something all couples need, neurodivergent or not. It's like, even a lot of it, like the difference between, like, even with my husband, Jeff, I've had to say, like, I don't want you to try and fix whatever it is that I'm going through. I just need you to listen. Right. Like stuff like that. I feel like I've had to have those conversations with him too. Just like, you just have to explain what you need in the scenario, or no, it's really good.
Yeah.
I have a question about, like, how do you approach your spouse if you think your spouse might be neurodivergent? Like, how do you have that conversation without, like, maybe offending them or something like that?
Yeah. I laugh because I basically just went up to him and was like, you're autistic. And he's like, what? Like, so you could do that. One night I literally walked up to him and was like, you're autistic. And he was like, what does that mean? He knew what it meant, but it's just that, like, he was like, wait, what? Like, is that? But I think some of it's a level of trust. So I knew I could say that to him and he wasn't going to just like flip the tables or anything, because he trusts what I say. But I think it's, it's also helped that we read a lot. So he loves books. So for my own podcast, 90% of the time, if I have an author on, it's because he's read the book and then he's given me like the notes about it, or told me to read it, and then I'll read it and then we'll have them on. But, and so I think that also helped, was like, hey, I think you're autistic. Do you want to read this book? I was reading the book at the time and thought, oh yeah, this makes sense. Like where he is and what he does and how he kind of behaves and receives, just kind of processes the world. And so I just kind of was like, here's a book that you should read. Or as well as, I would suggest like that, or podcast, or, anything that kind of is something that it's not just you saying it, but someone else, if they can help kind of their own discovery of like, oh, I do that. And it's not weird. It's just how I process the world or receive the world, or I don't do that. And, and kind of different things like that. So I would just say, have something alongside what you're saying so they can kind of also help discover for themselves.
Yeah. Because I feel like if you would approach it, there'd be a lot of stigma around whatever it is, right? A lot of people can feel really defensive or whatever it is. Like I know I was an educational assistant before I had my kiddos. And so I worked with a lot of kids with autism and ADHD and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like, if someone was just to tell someone, like their spouse, like, hey, I think you have this, they could be like, what do you mean? Like, no, I don't. Like, I don't understand. Like, no, I don't have that. Right. You could really easily put up walls of defenses. So to do it, with a lot of prayer and really tactfully would be huge.
Yeah.
What, like, are there some kind of classic telltale signs that somebody is neurodivergent?
So, it kind of depends on more specific. So for ADHD, for men, it's kind of that constant moving. So if you see someone like, tapping that, how there's like people who just constantly tapping their leg or, their pencil. So that's a very classic male ADHD thing.
I've been doing that this whole episode. What?
Yeah. Well, you might be ADHD.
Okay.
Then.
All right.
Do you want to listen to a podcast?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So things like that. For autism, it's very structured. So that's male and female. So if they have a routine, this is what they do. And anything that throws that routine off, it's just a big meltdown. It causes chaos. It causes frustration, tears, anger. That's a big sign for particularly autism. So, for example, my husband eats the same thing for lunch and the same thing for dinner every day. Yeah. Wow. So he has his lunch meal and he has his dinner meal, and that's what he's. Now, when that changes, I have to give him at least 3 days notice. Like, hey, we're going to go out for dinner. We're going to have sushi. We're eating at this place, and then again, so things like that is a very big time sign. For women in ADHD, a lot of it's more internal. So for me, as soon as my eyes are awake, my brain's awake, and I will be answering emails at 5:30 in the morning, or, I can turn on, like, as soon as my eyes are on, I'm on, my brain's going, it's going 100 miles an hour. In this conversation alone, I've thought of 3 business ideas I could do from what we've talked about.
Yeah.
So for women, it's a lot more internal, particularly for ADHD. And so it's a little harder to kind of show. But again, women, a lot of it can be touch. That's a big one for women, or sounds as well. So if I find some things are just crazy loud and it's like volume 2. My husband wears headphones a lot when he watches TV because I'm like, it's so loud, and he's like, I can't hear it. So he has headphones, so then I don't have to hear it and he can.
There you go.
So yeah, those are things. Yeah. But yeah, it's hard. If the other thing someone told me once, which makes sense in my life, is if you ever question you have fill in the blank, autism, ADHD, dyslexia, OCD, whatever, the likelihood is you probably do. And that's because your brain is going, oh wait, I do that, or it's connecting, it's making kind of connections. And a study was done a while ago with neurotypical people that they've never thought about having ADHD. Like it was just based on ADHD.
Oh, interesting.
And neurotypical people were like, I've never thought I had it. And then they did a group of ADHD people, and they're like, oh yeah, I questioned it all the time. I just didn't know what to do, or it took, classic ADHD, like you get told, oh, you need to call the doctor, and then do 7 steps, and they get to step 1 and then they forget what they were supposed to be doing anyways. And so it takes years to follow up. So yeah, but it's something that, it was a quick study. So it's one that I hold loosely, but it was interesting to think through and be like, oh yeah, throughout my life, I've thought something's different. I didn't always know I didn't always think it was necessarily ADHD, but that's different, or, yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So what's something that's like quirky or funny about your guys' neurodivergent dynamic that you've come to love?
Yeah, we have some quirky ones. I'm trying to think of ones that. So
appropriate.
Yeah. Well, so I did show my husband all these questions that you guys very kindly gave, because I was like, is there any that you don't want me to share?
Yeah.
Anything about? And he gave me a list of ones that, like, things that not to say. Like, he said, oh, those are fine. Just make sure not to say, like, all of these things. And the longest list was this one. So I was like, okay. But I think some of it is just the inside jokes that we have that are like, people are like, what are you laughing at? We'll see something and we'll both just like look at each other and laugh. And they're like, how is that funny? Like, what? How does that connect? Or the way when we met, the song "What Does the Fox Say?"
Oh yes,
like from 12 years ago. Yeah,
Yep.
It's like a big thing, right? It was like like that was our song. Like, I don't even know why. Like, now I do, because I have ADHD, and apparently that was like an ADHD like magnet, and I'm like, explains so much. But, you know, like, so we hear that song, and that song gets played somehow. The internet hears us, and it gets played randomly, like on my Spotify
No
or
way.
like, yeah, just like all these. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's always like just really funny. And we just start laughing. And even our boys are like, what does this song even mean? We're like, we don't know. It's just about a fox. So yeah. So things like that is just, I don't know. They're just random things, but they make us laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's one piece of encouragement that you'd love every listener to walk away with today?
That it's okay if your marriage looks different. It's gonna, and that's not just for neurodivergent, that's for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's your marriage between you and your spouse, and you guys need to be okay. You need to be, you know, keeping Jesus at the center. And if that, to do that looks different than, you know, I'm going to say the Joneses, but that's our last name, so that makes no sense. But like, if that looks different than the Joneses, then that's okay. You know, that idea that your marriage is your marriage, and you need to be okay that you need to remember it's going to look different, and that's okay.
Yeah. All right. So like we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we took questions from our followers. So I'd like to go through some of those. So one was, how can I stay present and focused during intimacy when my mind is racing with distractions, meds, or ADHD symptoms?
This is a great question, because partly would love to know the answer myself. But partly something that we've done is like talk to each other, not like, how's your day? You know, like sexy talk, like
Yeah.
Right.
dirty talk, like, you know, whatever you want to call it talk, like, because then it's a conversation. It sounds weird to say it's a conversation because it's like kind of not, but
it's interacting.
Yeah, exactly. You're using
pulls it
to
into
talk.
the moment.
Yeah, exactly. To talk, it's like keeping your brain active but engaged in what you're actually doing. So I would say, yeah, dirty talk away. And if you don't know how, don't YouTube it. That's all I have to say.
We have a good episode on it.
Yeah, great. Okay, yeah, link your episode, because I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, and I knew nothing about sex. So don't YouTube any of that. Like, we'll just say, you know, just listen to you guys, basically.
Yeah.
All right. How do I get in the mood when I'm overstimulated, burnt out, or struggling with low libido?
So I would first say, I think there's a few things. If you're burnt out, that's a whole bigger thing that you need to deal with, and you're not and sex should not be on the table. Intimacy, yes, you should always have, you know, intimacy, but sex shouldn't be on the table, because burnt out is a lot bigger and a lot harder. And having gone through that, I mean, so I go to counseling on my own, and my counselor said burnout to a neurodivergent person is like a deep depression to a neurotypical. Okay. And so just needing to come out of burnout, I mean, that's what you need to focus on in doing that. And so there are levels of burnout. I want to clarify that. But for the most part, if you are in burnout, you need to focus on getting healthy and going from there. But yeah, so I would say focus on that. If it's a low libido or kind of just the mood, think through what's making you overwhelmed, and do you need to always do that? And so for me, touch overwhelms me. So I know having a shower helps, or going and sitting in my room and reading, or listening to music or a podcast for half an hour, you know, just finding those things that kind of help you reset. Or can you take out what's being overwhelming you, or what's kind of helping you with that? So that's what I would say.
What can we do about mismatched awareness of time between sex, so it's not always one spouse initiating and leading to frustration?
So we had that conversation, I think year 1 of our marriage, because I could go weeks, I mean, I don't like being touched, so I could probably go forever without having sex. Yep. So we had to have that conversation, and I just said to him, you're going to have to initiate it, because in my mind, there's nothing that's going to make me do that. Occasionally there have been, being pregnant is one, but other than that, like, I've really never initiated it. But because we set that expectation, I know he doesn't feel frustrated, because he knows
Yeah.
Oh, if I want it, I'm going to have to do it. And it's helped me not feel guilty for not doing it or initiating, because I know that we've set that expectation. So I just say, have that frank conversation and say, hey, this is where I'm at. And I think, we can just set this. Or, I mean, we also just said, we just have a day once a week that we're like, this is our day. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. How can we learn to play to each other's strengths in intimacy instead of our weaknesses, and avoid seeking dopamine or validation outside of marriage?
So again, it's having a really frank conversation. So for me, I said to him, I need you to tell me every day that you love me. One thing that neurodivergent people, particularly women, have is what's called RSD, which is rejection sensitivity disorder. And so we can feel like we're being rejected even before it's actually happening, and not even happening. Like, so example is my husband, he works. I don't know why, I think, but like if he doesn't instantly text me back, I'm like, he's cheating on me with someone else, and he's going to come home and tell me he no longer loves me. And instead he's like saving someone's life. He works in A&E ER. So of course, like things, but we women can very easily, very quickly, who are neurodivergent, I mean, all women I think can kind of do that, but not that quickly. Kind of think something's they're being rejected when it's not really there. And so for me, it still is a big thing that I have to kind of deal with on a regular basis. But what's helped is him saying, we've just said this. I said, I need you to tell me you love me every day, so I can hear that and know that you're not going to cheat on me, which he never has shown that. I don't know why I would ever think that, but so things like that, and like recognize, just again having, especially if you have an autistic person in the relationship who, again, I want to be clear, they do feel things, they just have mixed matched feelings. And so they might think they're doing the right thing by letting you cry on your own, when I was like, I don't want to cry on my own. I want you to give me a big bear hug for 3 seconds and then let me cry on my own, like.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's, again, just setting that expectation of what you do want, and it's kind of having those hard conversations.
I have a question that we don't have written down here, but for those of us couples that are neurotypical, how are there any suggestions for if we have couples who are friends who are neurodivergent?
Yeah, that's a really great question. The first one I would say is, don't judge them for how they do their marriage. And we've had people come to us and say, oh, I remember a specific incident where someone came to me and was like, I really don't think you should speak to your husband that way. It was very direct, like, I need you to do this, this, and this. And, she was like, oh, that's not very loving. And thankfully, I happened only a few months ago, a bit more stronger in my marriage now. I think if it happened 2 years ago, I probably would have crumbled and gone into a spiral. But because we know our differences and we know how we need to communicate, I just kind of turned to her and said, thank you for that. Kind of didn't want to totally shame her, but just said, like, actually, this is how we communicate in our marriage. He's autistic. He needs this kind of communication. So to be honest, that's actually probably how he'd prefer you to communicate with him, kind of just showing, like, actually, this is, we've already talked about how we want to communicate, and this is how he wants us to communicate. And so, it opened my eyes to realize that, it's, people are watching us and are judging us, rightly or wrongly. She was trying to be kind and coming to me and saying, I don't think you should do that. But so I say the first one is to not judge. The second one is to say, if they are struggling, just to be that ear and say, hey, like, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here to listen, because there will come points. I mean, like, honest is, we came to a point where I said, I can't do this anymore. This has to change, or I'm done, because our communication was just so crazy in chaos. And so, and knowing other couples who are further along in their marriage and their journey have said the same. And so just when you get to that point, just having someone who will listen is really good, and not judge for the fact that I'm saying, I think I'm going to get a divorce and be a Christian.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we didn't cover today?
No, I think, yeah,
All right.
I think we did it all.
Well, then let's end. Would you like to close us off in prayer?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
Father God, we just thank you for marriage and for sex and intimacy, Lord. We thank you that you have created these things. And so because you've created them, we know they are good and that they are honoring to you, Lord. And so I pray that in our marriages and in our sex and in our intimacy, we can honor you and we can glorify you, Lord. And I pray that as we do our marriages, which might look slightly differently as neurodivergent couples, that we will be strong and confident in our relationship with each other and our relationship with you, Lord. And I pray that those who are supporting couples or parents of neurodivergent families, that they will see you through that and through them as an example, Lord, and that they can be encouraged in their own marriage, Lord. And I pray for those couples who are struggling. God, I just ask that you would just do it in a divine breakthrough, Lord, that you would speak into their marriages, Lord. And if they are neurodivergent couples, Lord, I pray that you would bring in someone who has had experience, Lord. I'm so grateful for my mentor who's come in who has experience in that and could kind of speak into that and be that interpreter at times, Lord. And so I just pray, though, that you would just intervene and kind of rebind them together, Lord. And we just thank you for Jesus, and we thank you that he walks with us in our marriage and that we know we are not alone in this. So we pray this in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Before you go, if people want to engage with you, listen to your podcast, follow you on socials, tell them all the stuff.
Yeah, so it's called The Unfinished Idea. That's the name of the podcast.
Love
because
it.
ADHD people have 1,000,001 unfinished ideas. But yeah, Unfinished Idea, we talk about the everyday and being neurodivergent, raising a neurodivergent child, as well as being a neurodivergent couple. And then that's all my socials and website. So The Unfinished Idea on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and then my website as well. So yeah, we'd love to have anyone and everyone.
Amazing.
Awesome.
So good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Hey friends, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you like our content, please like, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and tell your friends too. Thanks so much for journeying with us today as we tackled the hard questions and dive deep into godly intimacy. Make sure you follow us on Instagram to see more of our content and check the show notes for any links we might have mentioned in today's episode. We're so grateful to be on this journey with you, and we can't wait to see you in the next episode.